What's going on? Welcome to another episode of the Impel Forward podcast. I'm your host, Leon. I don't know where my co-host at. She'll be here in a minute. But today we have a special guest today. Oh, there she go. There she is.
I had some little technical difficulties, but I'm here.
Oh Lord. Turn your phone sideways. What you got? You on your phone?
No, I'm on my
laptop. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, we got a special guest here coming, Mr. Trey Edwards. He's I guess you want to say employee affiliate of Coinbase.
Yeah.
He's a exciting person to talk to about this cryptocurrency. So we're gonna get into some of the things he's done. And I'm gonna bring him on right now before I read off some of the things he's done with this thing.
Go ahead and bring me.
Let's go, yeah. Trey, what up?
What's going on, everybody? How you living?
Hey.
That's my co-host, Renee. Trey.
Hey, what's happening, Renee?
How are you?
I'm good. Beautiful day. Hope you're doing well.
Doing well. Ready to get to the bag.
Yeah, I don't know if she's one of the ones we ever talked about crypto, Renee? Me and you?
I don't know. We talk about so much.
I don't know if she's one of the skeptical ones.
Oh yeah, tell us, Renee, before we kick it off. What do you feel about? How do you feel about crypto?
I don't know. Like my friend, my homeboy, actually, I want to say maybe 5 years ago when it was kind of popular and people were kind of getting into it. He was just like, "Yo, you got to get into it," and I was just like, "Oh, I don't know." I'm gonna have to say, typical Black person scared to jump, right? Not knowing you got to spend money to make money, or scared to spend the money to make money, I would say. But I've heard about it. I've tried it on Robinhood. I'm not gonna lie. I tried it. I have the app. I just don't really know what I'm doing. Right. So
hey, completely fair. Well, you're in the right place now. Let's talk about it, and excited to see how you feel after we get done.
Yeah, I'm excited to learn.
So let me read off some of these things he's done. He did in this project that he did.
Okay.
He bought 2 people their own cars. Helped 3 people in domestic violence situations escape abusive situations. Prevented 1 single mom and her kids from being evicted.
Really?
Helped cover the car insurance for a single mom. Bought 5 people who were recently released from prison a fresh set of clothes. And we gonna let him tell more about. He's done a lot, so we're gonna go ahead and first we're gonna ask, how long have you been with Coinbase?
Yeah, absolutely. So excited to talk about the Make a Day project once we get there. But to kick it off, let me tell you a little bit about how I got into this whole crypto thing, and I'll tell you about Coinbase as well. But to answer your question, I've been here for about 4.5 years. So for me, my name is Trey Edwards. I'm from North Carolina, went to NC State University, and my story for crypto honestly all starts there. So I went to school at NC State, and I'll never forget my last class ever of undergrad. I was getting on the bus. It was the same bus that I had taken all the other years. And it was a new bus driver. I didn't recognize the guy. And so when he came up to my stop, he missed it. And I was like, no big deal. Like, I just pulled it, let him know, like, hey, you missed my stop. And then he goes and he just stops the bus. I go and I get out. Bam. Just like that, I get hit by a car because he, instead of stopping the bus lane, he just stopped in one of the regular lanes. And I didn't notice. So I got hit by a car that day. And thankfully, as you can see, I'm perfectly fine. I'm walking around, no problems at all. So I'm thankful here about that here in the long term. But what did change for me is my mindset. Coming into that incident, I got to say, I was a typical 21-year-old. I thought I had all the time in the world to go to live my dreams, make an impact, whatever the case. What I learned from that moment is, honestly, life is short.
Yeah.
It's not just a corny expression. When people say that, they mean it. Who knows what could have happened that day. And so after that, I was really determined from then on to go and to make something of myself, not sometime way down in the future, but starting really at that moment. And so initially, I didn't really know where to put all of that new inspiration and that drive. And so after I graduated, started working for a winery, started doing different jobs and so on. But things didn't really click for me until I got into finance. I started working here in Charlotte, North Carolina, for some of the big banks here there in the area and learning really about some of their technology. And I'll never forget that my manager at the time, he put me onto a book about blockchain and digital currency. And Leon, Renee, let me tell you, I was hooked, absolutely hooked on the topic, and especially understanding as far as how this technology, as we'll get into through our conversation, I'm sure has the potential to truly change people's lives. And at that moment, it was in 2017, I knew that I wanted to do more than just invest into Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. I wanted to help build the future and to really help this industry become what I really believe that it had the potential to do. So at the time, I didn't feel like I had enough knowledge, like many people here who are probably watching this. I was like, who am I to go start working in crypto? I don't know that here much about it. So I was like, let me change that. And so I went and I did all the reading that I could, read a bunch of books, watched YouTube videos, you name it. And eventually I found a master's degree program dedicated to blockchain and digital currency. The first. Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Weird. But yeah, so yeah, Renee can hear me. Leon, can you're on mute, Leon.
All right. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right.
Cool. But anyway, so what I was saying is I found a master's degree program, literally the first one in the entire world. I went, I shot my shot, applied, I got accepted here to it, got a nice scholarship. And throughout the like a year and a half, I was full-time in grad school, get my master's in blockchain and digital currency, full-time working. Let me tell you, that was definitely a grind, some of the busiest time of my life, but I absolutely loved it. And when I graduated, I was actually one of the youngest people in the world to ever get my master's in blockchain and digital currency. When I graduated, I wanted to go into like literally do what I said I wanted to do, like help build the industry into what I thought that it could become. So I went and joined Coinbase, which is one of the leading cryptocurrency companies here and Web3 companies here in the entire world. And I moved out to San Francisco here, like this was pre-COVID, to start working for them. In the time since then, I've been promoted over 3 times, and now I lead a strategy and program management team at Coinbase dedicated to doing things just like this, helping the people all across the world understand how to leverage Coinbase's technology in order to improve their own economic freedom. Specifically, I'm there to help with some of our customer experience and customer support programs. So that's a little bit about what I'm up to here at Coinbase. The reason why I stay there is because I fundamentally believe in this technology and think that it can help people all across the world, similar to with that project that you just mentioned that I was working on. So happy to talk more about it whenever you want.
Love that. Love that. I have to ask, before we kind of get into it, what was, if you remember, the first amount that you invested into crypto?
Yeah. So my first amount that I invested was probably maybe $10, $20. Because what I think a lot of people, when they think about Bitcoin, especially these days, they see the price of Bitcoin is like $65,000. They're like,
yeah,
$65,000. So I guess I can't invest in Bitcoin. And so what I learned, and what's even still true here now, and that I hope people take away, is you can buy $1 worth of Bitcoin. You can buy 50 cents worth of Bitcoin. Like, you don't have to buy a full coin. And unlike stocks, you can buy like fractional amounts. So the first amount that I bought was probably like $10 or $20 worth, something super small just to get started. But what's interesting about that question that makes me think of is, I told you I had to buy that car. I actually got like a small settlement from it. And that's what I used to buy my first Bitcoin. And that was kind of how I got started with making like larger investments. Bitcoin was only maybe like $3,000 at that time. So it was a lot less than today.
Wow. That's inspiring.
Yeah, people who I talk to about Bitcoin or cryptocurrency, you have to let them know that you don't have to buy the whole thing for $65,000 or whatever the case may be, whatever price it is at that time. Like you say, you can fractions. You can put in $3 if you want to, But
100%.
Yeah.
I don't think that's talked about enough. Right. I think you go on YouTube and then, Instagram and TikTok, all the universities as you will. And they, they talk about how much they've made off of it and how much they invest, but they don't really share the amount, right? Or how little, I would say money that you would spend going out on the weekend with your friends, right? Where that could potentially, grow into something bigger. and you don't hear it enough that, you know, $20, like you said, you know, your $10 or maybe even 100, and see how that can grow. Normally when you see those people, when they're like $100 will get you here, it's like, well, invest $100 and you can make 25,000 in 30 years. Huh? No one wants to wait. You know what I mean? So it's you bypass that because it's, you know, you think it's a scam. I'm going to be really honest with you. You know, a lot of people don't really understand it or take the time out to learn it. I will ask, what is a really, I know you said you work for Coinbase. What is a really good starting point for a beginner?
So I would say, like, if you're watching this today and you're looking for the easiest way to get started with crypto, I would say two things. One, like, yes, Coinbase is like super easy to use, but what I would say is perhaps even easier for people just watching this is Cash App. Cash App, pretty much everybody in our community has Cash App probably on their phone right now. On Cash App, you can buy $1 Bitcoin literally as I'm talking here right now. It's that easy. So I'd say, like, that's probably the easiest way to get started. And then as you're looking to expand into other cryptocurrencies, because there's a wide range here of them, then Coinbase is really one of the easiest places that you can go and to buy, sell, and trade crypto.
Now, me, I was skeptical about buying crypto on Cash App. I still haven't done it, but all my stuff was in Coinbase.
Nice.
I don't know why, but
yeah, and let me
you're confirming that it's okay to buy it on Cash App.
I mean, he works for
100%.
Coinbase and he's saying Cash App, so something must be legit.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that there's room for all the companies, and so I love Cash App. One thing that I put people onto that I love to do is, like, when people send me, like, let's say I'm going out to dinner or drinks with a friend, and they send me like $20 on Cash App. Instead of me putting that back in my bank account, I buy Bitcoin here with that. And over the years of just doing that, that has amounted into literally thousands of dollars worth of Bitcoin just through that, like, $10, $20 here and there. Because when you think about it, that $10 or $20, you putting in your bank account, like, yeah, it's nice to have that money in your bank account and everything, but you could survive without putting that $10 back in your bank account. But if you put that into Bitcoin, like, with long enough time period, you may be happy with that results. Because one thing that I would encourage people to look at if you're concerned or you think it's a scam or whatever the case, the numbers don't lie. Bitcoin is the best financial investment of our generation so far. If you just look at the numbers, and I think that the math speaks for itself. So you don't have to trust me. You don't have to trust anybody's word for it. Look at the price of Bitcoin compared to other financial investments, and you'll see that for yourself.
That is really good to know, because a lot of times with Cash App, right, your friends will send you some money and then it'll sit there, right? Until you go back in and you're like, dang, I got $150. Where'd that come from? But it's accumulation of people just, you know, paying you back or sending you money. And then it's just sitting there, not gaining any interest, not, you know, you're not making anything off of it. So that's a great idea. $10 here every time you move it over and buy it. You're really onto something. You might have sold me, because I was skeptical, because, you know, you don't know what you don't know.
So look, Renee, you know, I was watching my show today. Who I was watching today?
You probably was watching Dave Ramsey.
There you go, Dave Ramsey. A guy calls in. He said he put in $12,000. Shot up, his account shot up to 800,000. This was in 2020 when it skyrocketed, whatever. Shot up to $800,000. He sold 10% of it. You know, he used some of it to go towards a house. And then I guess the little bit he left in went down to like 16,000. But still, he still came out good, you know. So it works. You know, I talk to people all the time, and a few people say it's a scam and this and that. I don't say too much, because I don't try to convince them. I just tell them it works. It's good, but I let them believe what they don't believe.
I think we're so conditioned to hear these different money making programs are a scam, right? Because you hear more of the negative than you do of the positive about it. And then it's always that positive person months later or years later. It's like, this person went to jail for, you know, scamming $100,000 out of, you know, poor people for, you know, investing in him. So, you know, it's always, I hate to say it, but sometimes the negative outweigh the positive when it comes to these particular types of things when dealing with your money, right? So a lot of people in our community are slow to invest. But I think as, gradually, as, as Trey stated, $10 here, $20 here, I think the more and more, and if you see something, whether it's $1, you gained $1, $2, $3, you're gaining something, then it's just sitting there, not gaining anything. That, as you get older, your mind and different things tend to change. So
110%. And like a couple things that I would say to that, Renee, is first, I would never recommend people to invest in Bitcoin because you want like to get rich quick. Because that is like, I think that I don't want to set the expectations to people that like, oh, if I put in my life savings here now, $1,000, $2,000, like whatever it is, next year I'm gonna retire. I don't want to set those expectations here for people. And instead, if you invest in Bitcoin, I recommend investing. Only invest, just like any other investment, what you can afford to lose. That way, like if it goes up in value, you're happy. If it goes down, your life isn't over. So that's the first thing I would say. The next thing I would say is, interestingly enough, like you mentioned about the part about our community, Black Americans are actually the most likely demographic to own cryptocurrency. Like throughout the entire United States, more than Hispanics, more than whites, more than Asian Americans, Black Americans actually hold, like in terms of like the percentage of us that are investing in this technology, the most. And so we're really catching up here when it comes down to this, and we see that as the potential. And I think as we continue to do so, that the best way that I've learned to avoid scams is to, if it sounds too good to be true, thinking about like all the, like if you see like some like Facebook or Instagram posts are like, hey, invest into this cryptocurrency. I promise you're going to get 100x returns. You're going to make like 50% yield. Does that sound like something that's me true?
Yeah.
And if it was, why would everyone not do that? And so that's why I say like, it's good to have a little bit of caution, but just like do your research, and especially go with like the safe, more established, I would say, cryptocurrencies, especially at first, thinking about like Bitcoin, thinking about Ethereum, thinking about Solana and some of these other like major players, opposed to like some of these smaller coins that you might just see on Instagram or on TikTok, where people are really just trying to sell you on something that's too good to be true. Because like any other investment class, like stocks or any other types of investment, there are people that try to scam you, but that doesn't take away from the fact that like at its core, this technology really has a great potential and can, if you do so in an educated way, be a great investment.
Yeah, one thing I told people, when you started to see big companies go into cryptocurrency and start diving into that, then you see it on the stock market and that, it's something to look at.
Yep.
My aha moment with it was seeing how you can purchase things with Bitcoin. Like you go to even ATM machines or you go to anywhere and it's an offering and you're like, wait a minute. It's really here,
100%.
Like even, I think Amazon or something, like you can buy things. It's just so it became real when thought was a thought is now real because it's in our face.
Here's what's cool about that. Oh, you first, Leon.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Now, what I was going to say is like, Renee, I love that you just brought this up. So a couple cool things that I bought directly with Bitcoin, my wedding ring. I paid for my entire master's degree with Bitcoin. Like when we bought our dog from like the, I guess where we got our dog from, paid for that here in Bitcoin as well. So there's a ton of things that you can buy with it here these days in places that accept it. Many companies, Coinbase, as well as like many of our competitors, crypto.com, et cetera, they even have like debit cards that enable you to go and to pay for things using like a debit card where you're spending crypto, but to the merchant, they're receiving US dollars. And so like, it feels like a great interaction for them, enables you to spend for your cryptocurrency and it makes it like a true like form of money. And so Leon, when you were talking earlier about the project that I did a couple of weeks ago, where we went and we bought a lot of people groceries, we went and like paid their rent, a lot of that, like we were using the Coinbase card so that we could just pay for things just as like a normal transaction. So we were spending crypto, but whoever it is that we were helping, it felt like US dollars for them.
Now did that project have something, man, you had talked about, you was offering people crypto or something and they was turning it down? Does that have something to do with the project too, or that's something different?
Yeah, so let's get into it. So to bring like our audience and Renee here into the fold, I recently hit my 4 years at Coinbase, and one thing that they do when you hit that landmark is they give you 4 weeks off. They call it like a 4x4. You hit 4 years, you get 4 weeks off. So
That's
it's really
dope.
cool. And so during that time, I used it to go after a project that I have been thinking about for a long time, because with having invested into crypto for 7 years, I have seen many people become wealthy. I've seen many people lose money. Many people make money. But what I really wanted to see during my 4x4 was to show people that cryptocurrency is not all about the price. It's not all about just like, hey, like from an investment perspective. And instead, this technology, this new form of money truly has the capability to change people's lives for the better. And so I took a goal of trying to make 30 people's days in 30 days using crypto. And so what I did is I raised about $10,000 or so from my community, all within crypto. And everyone who contributed money to the project was able to vote on how we use the money. And so we used that money to go and to do, honestly, a lot of incredible things, ranging from, like Leon mentioned, buying people a car in partnership with some nonprofits, paying for people's rents. We paid for many people's groceries and things like that. And so we were able to do a lot of good directly using crypto. And now, Leon, to go back to the question that you asked, you would be shocked in 2024 how many of the people that we approached saying like, hey, my name is Trey Edwards. We're doing this project to show people that there's good in the world, and then we're using crypto to do it. Do you mind if I make your day right now using crypto? How many people would just say no? Like, I would say probably about maybe 30 to 40% of the people, they're just like, crypto's a scam, get out of here. Or they're just like, no. Or some of them just straight up ignored us and just like kept on walking. We were literally just trying to give them money, no strings attached, here to do it. And so many people still have that connotation, but for the people who did say yes, and they were open to hearing us out and just like receiving the crypto, some of the people, we literally changed their lives. Like there was this one guy who I'll never forget. We got partnered up with him through a local nonprofit here in Durham. And he had been out of prison for about like 2 years or so, was trying to get his life together, and he didn't have a car. And so if you don't have a car, you're really constricted to where the bus routes run, about where you can go, when you can work, everything like that. And so we bought him a car. And the way that we did that was like through a local nonprofit where they sell cars to people for like $640, all fees included. So I met up with him in person to send him the crypto using Coinbase. And I helped him to transfer the money to his bank account, he showed me like his phone with like the money and like to show that he received like the crypto into his bank account. I sent him 640. He showed me his bank account. It had like $710 in it. And so that just goes to show like that crypto truly changed that man's life. And so the reason why I wanted to do this project was because I think very often when people think about cryptocurrency, they either think about one, a scam, or two, they're like, I don't get it. Or three, they're like, oh, the price is super volatile. And what my pure and only goal here with this project was, I don't want them to think about any of all that. But instead, I want them to think about stories like this. And I want them to think about the people who had their lives literally changed as a result of this technology.
I also think people don't know what to do with it. You know what I mean? Once you get it, they don't know what to do with it. Like you said, you transferred the cryptocurrency to the guy, 640 in his bank account. It showed like 723, I believe that he said. People don't know that. They're like, what am I going to do with Bitcoin? Because it's not money that I can easily give to Leon to get a haircut, right? It's not paper. It's not, I can feel it, hold it, see it. It's an electronic transaction that the next person on the street may not know about. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And I think that's probably one of the biggest things is people don't know what to do with it at all.
And I think that's a really good segue, if it's okay, to tell you how I like to describe Bitcoin, because I think that it helps people to understand, like to make it feel a little bit more simple. So the easiest way that I like to understand Bitcoin is like a blend between gold and the US dollar. So when you think about gold, why does gold have value? Well, it has value first because like there's limited supply. There's only going to be so much gold that's ever created because it's literally like a precious metal. Next is it has value because people, like candidly, they say it has value. They trade it here on various exchanges. And so the price that it has that different volatility. And so because people have that inherent belief that like, oh, it's gold, of course, like it's valuable, that in of itself helps to give it value. Next with the US dollar. With the US dollar, everyone's familiar with it. You can go, you can do any numbers of things with it, between buying Chipotle to buying a house, anything in between. You can use it to go and just to purchase things. Bitcoin is kind of like a hybrid in that, like gold, there is a limited supply of Bitcoin. There were only ever 21 million Bitcoin ever created, no more, no less. And so because of that scarcity, that gives it value. Next, Bitcoin, similar to gold, is traded on different exchanges, whether that be Coinbase or Cash App or many of these others, because people, again, have that inherent belief that has value and they're willing to go and to purchase it. That gives it value. Similar to the US dollar, Bitcoin is able to be used to buy and to sell things. And so I mentioned here about how I paid for my wedding ring using Bitcoin. I paid for a master's degree. I paid for my dog. I paid for just a number of things using Bitcoin. And that way, it's like a traditional currency. And so when you think about Bitcoin, it's really that like intersection of like gold and a traditional currency like the US dollar. And so when you're thinking about like what to do with that, that's what's cool is you can do anything that you would do with either gold or with the US dollar. You can buy it, things with it, or you could just save it here in your account and use it as an investment like you would gold.
That's
Now
pretty.
the people that you like the guy you bought the car, did he have to have a Coinbase account or something? So you had to have a Coinbase account for you.
Is there a monthly fee to this to have to Coinbase, or is it just an app that you download? So speaking to the beginner person, right?
Yeah.
To our newer audience who isn't familiar.
Great question. In the time that we've spent talking so far, you could have created a Coinbase account. Now we are like a regulated financial institution. So similar to like if you were setting up a bank account, you're going to have to require some like, or you put in some sensitive details. So for example, your name, you may have to put in like your social security number. You may have to put in like your address, things like that to verify your identity. Now, when you're going through that process, the reason why we do those things is a couple of reasons. One, to show, because like we are like regulated by the financial regulators both here in the US and abroad. And that part's important. Like you want, when you're thinking about like your finances, you want to do business with a place that is going to be regulated and is going to really making sure that they are doing business with trustworthy people, just like any other bank account. So that's the first reason. The next reason here, as you are like setting up your Coinbase account, it's super easy to do. You could set it up in maybe like 10, 15 minutes here at the very most. So I really encourage people, whether it's Coinbase or whether it's Cash App, whatever the case, don't let the fear of the unknown stop you from getting started here with it, especially since you can get started with as much as, or as little as $5, $10.
That's amazing. Now you spoke briefly like abroad. Are you able to, have you ever used it overseas at all? And it holds, similar value. Of course, it depends on where you go, right? Does, how much our US dollar converts over to their money. Is there a difference in that?
So what's cool is that one Bitcoin in the United States is one Bitcoin in Japan, is one Bitcoin in Canada, is one Bitcoin in anywhere in Asia, it's one Bitcoin in Africa. You get the gist. And so
now wait a minute, bring that back.
Yeah.
So it's 1-to-1.
Right. So it's one. So I'm saying what I'm saying here is that like the exchange rate, like Bitcoin to US dollar and Bitcoin to yen, like that part may be different and so on. But when you're thinking here about like, you ask the question, like, can you use Bitcoin abroad? Absolutely. Like one of the big perks here of digital currency as a whole is when you're sending to like digital currency, like Bitcoin to an address, it doesn't matter if that address is in Japan, if it's in the United States, if it's in Canada, it's all like, it doesn't make a difference here from that standpoint.
Right. Okay. I take it Leon brags. He probably has a Coinbase account and a Coinbase referral link, I'm sure.
Come up, Leon.
I never paid attention. Do we have a referral link in Coinbase?
Yeah. There's definitely referral links. I think like one of the ones to set up is like, maybe like you get $10 when somebody signs up or something along those lines. So yeah, there's definitely referrals.
Okay, I will go on my account and send you a referral.
I was going to say put it down below in the comments so that you.
Yeah, I could put it in there too. Yeah,
you're sharing, spreading the wealth, right? It's all about building community and helping them better understand. So, but I'll take your link, friend. I got you.
Yeah. So Trey, what type of, okay, you went to state, evidently you were smart. What kind of person were you in high school? Like what did you So what did you go to state for again? Maybe I missed that.
So interesting thing. So I was honestly, before I went to grad school, a terrible student. My motto was C's get degrees. And that was honestly, I meant it. I was really there just to get the degree and to get out. Like I mentioned, that car accident really changed my life. But yeah, in high school, I was social. I enjoyed hanging out with my friends. I would not say like any kind of special student. At NC State, I think I had like a 2.5, maybe 2.8 GPA, something like that. So nothing remarkable, good enough to pass, but nothing too crazy.
And look at him now.
Yeah.
Trying.
Amazing.
So what so okay, so I know we talked about you starting, okay, you say you was already in finance in the bank, then you went to crypto, and me and you had talked before about you doing finance again. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So I try to do a lot of work here in the community as far as in different forums like this and really educating people about this technology, because what's incredibly important to me is that as Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies are becoming more popular, that people like you and like the three of us are really involved here from the beginning, not only in investing, but helping to build this technology. Because as you get deeper into your understanding about Bitcoin and other digital currencies, I think that many people, including myself, truly believe that this can be the future of finance. Because when you think about like money as a whole, right now it's all digital already. Like when was the last time you saw your paycheck in cash, as an example? And so these sorts of digital currencies, they're coming and they're definitely going to be the future. The question is, who's building that future and who are they building like these applications for? And so it's really important that people like us are really in the room and helping to make a difference. As part of that, I have been like working on getting a financial advisory certification, so that as I'm going and I'm having conversations like these, I can provide like the next level of guidance and advice and instruction. Because right now I'm very clear, I do not give any kind of like financial advice or anything like that. But in the future, that could be the case if I became a licensed financial advisor. Right now, my day job keeps me a little busy. So I'm not really working actively towards that right now, but I definitely see that as something in the future.
I think you would be amazing at it.
I appreciate it.
Ready to start that YouTube day in the life, working at Coinbase.
So Trey, so are you I'm sure, I'm assuming, but I think I'm correct. You know about the CBDC?
Yeah.
Part of the government. So
Yes.
can you explain to the people about the difference between the CBDC and crypto? What the CBDC is something that the government is trying to do, which is a lot of negative things that goes with that, as far as control and what the social score and stuff like that. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So a CBDC stands for a central bank digital currency. And so what a central bank digital currency is imagine the US dollar, but if it were on the blockchain. And so there's a variety of different benefits for that, including like lower transaction fees and the ability for it to do it like faster transactions as well. Like when you think about, as an example, if you try to move money from like your bank account to even just like another bank account, today it takes what? 1 to 3 business days, unless you do a wire. And then with a wire, you've got to pay that $25 fee. And it still takes a couple of hours. With blockchain technology, with most like, I guess like digital currencies, transactions take a matter of minutes. Some of them even take a matter of seconds. And so one of the reasons why people want, or proponents of a central bank digital currency want to go that route, is because of the efficiencies that would give the government when it comes down, and people when it comes down to everyday payments. So imagine like if you at like your day job, if you could go and you could be paid instead of every 2 weeks or once a month, whatever your pay cycle is, if you're paid every minute or you're paid every second, that sort of use case is what would be enabled if we had like a central bank digital currency due to the benefits of blockchain technology. Now, the people who don't like a CBDC or central bank digital currency, they say that it will give the governments like higher level of control and visibility, because most blockchain transactions are on the blockchain. And what the implication of that is that anyone can see these transactions taking place. They can see the amount, they can see the recipient, they can see where the money went back and forth there, and so on. So it's incredibly public. So they're concerned that this may have like privacy implications and even enable the government to control people's money. Personally, I don't have that same take. I am personally I personally am a believer in central bank digital currencies if they're done correctly. And I think that like the concern around this technology, central bank digital currencies, comes not about the technology itself, but more it's about like mistrust in the government that they're going to be
Yeah.
used correctly. And they're concerned that like, hey, if regardless of who's in office, they say, hey, if this exists, the government's going to be surveilling me. They're going to be controlling where the money goes and so on. The reason why I don't necessarily personally, this is my personal believe take into that is they could do that today. Like
I was
today,
gonna say, so
right?
I work for a top 5 bank, right? And you've worked in finance and you've worked for a lot of banks, and I'm gonna bring you back. Yearly there are compliance tests that we have to take, right? And in one of those tests, as far as it goes with fraud in the government, we know that the money is being watched regardless, even in the banks now. We take tests on that, right? And Leon, he understands what I'm talking about. I'm talking kind of in general, but he understands yearly when you work in finance, you have to take tests to ensure that money is being watched regardless. They're watching for fraud. They're watching for, unusual deposits. It's daily. So, you hear people, oh, my money isn't being watched because I have less than $10,000 in my account. That's not true. That's not true.
100%. So yeah, that's the reason why I don't really like subscribe to that point of view personally. I know many people do, but that's completely on you. Asked about like what's the difference between like central bank digital currencies and like cryptocurrencies. Traditional cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, as an example, don't have like a central entity that controls either the supply or the distribution or the usage. So as an example, there is no Bitcoin company or there is no specific person that is controlling the Bitcoin network and ensuring that hey, like only specific people transact or only certain amounts, or going and censoring transactions. From just like a technical perspective, that's just not how the currency is designed. And instead, the network, the Bitcoin network, is operated by just the miners and by the community. So as an example, I'm a Bitcoin miner. And so I have these like Bitcoin mining machines. I personally have mine in like different like data centers here across the United States. And what those Bitcoin miners do is similar to like what Visa does. And so with Visa, they're like a transaction processor. So like all the transactions go through Visa, and Visa gets like a cut of the transaction fees. Bitcoin takes like what they call a decentralized approach. So instead of having a centralized company like Visa go and to like do all the transaction, processing for simple terms, the Bitcoin miners do that. And as a reward for completing that work, they get a cut of the transaction fees. And so that's the big difference between cryptocurrencies and central bank digital currencies, is that cryptocurrencies are decentralized and they don't have that central authority that's controlling it, while central bank digital currencies, as the name implies, have a central bank that is controlling the supply, the distribution, and overall usage of the network.
Now, Trey, are you telling me you have a big warehouse where you can mine crypto?
I don't personally have a huge warehouse, but we just have like a family business where we've been mining Bitcoin for a couple years.
Okay, so
Really?
you probably only second person that I know. Well, I know of the person, but you are the only one that I personally know that mine Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm. Yep, been mining Bitcoin for a couple years. I will say it is up. Let me use my words carefully. I don't know that I would go out of my way to say everyone should mine Bitcoin, and many it is actually been proven that it is a better investment just to buy Bitcoin than trying to mine it, because mining it, you gotta pay like the electricity costs, you gotta pay for the machines and things like that. I'm glad that my family and I, we went through this adventure. It's been fun to do, and I believe just like ethically, as far as like contributing to the Bitcoin network, and I really appreciate being part of that decentralized community. But if you're only thinking from an investment perspective, I would strongly recommend people just buy Bitcoin. It is a lot more simple, and it'll just be more profitable for you than trying to mine.
Yeah, like you said, it's a lot of electricity and a lot of moving parts to that mining Bitcoin.
Is it?
Yeah.
Now I'm gonna have to research this even more. You're leaving me with a lot of takeaways, Trey. A lot of takeaways. I'm writing it down, actually.
Now let's talk about the process of doing taxes.
Yes.
On Bitcoin when you take it out or send it somewhere, this and that. How is it easy? Is it hard? Just the same as regular taxes?
Yeah, so you get, so I'm not a tax professional, but I'll tell you just a couple of like high level tips or things that I've learned throughout the way, which are first that Bitcoin is taxed like any other financial investment, and that you get taxed when you sell it. And so the amount that you get taxed is just based off of how long did you hold the asset. If you held it for over a year, it's taxed as like a long-term capital gain. If you held it for under a year, it's a short-term capital gain. So in that way, it's taxed in similar ways like stocks and other trades that you might make. In terms of ease of use of like filing your crypto taxes these days, it's much easier than it has been previously. There's all types of softwares that you can go and to use, and they're relatively affordable too. That they'll go and do all the hard work for you as far as understanding like how much you bought it for, how much you sold it for, and like going and like just doing the math for you. So then you can give that either to your accountant or put it in TurboTax. It all, like has integrations with these softwares too. So doing your crypto taxes isn't too difficult.
Yeah, I knew the answer. I just wanted you to explain it because I went through that. That's when it was first kind of new to
Okay.
tax preparers.
Mhm.
A little
Oh, that
bit.
was a lot, I bet. Like
Yeah,
in the
yeah,
beginning, let me tell you, it was a hassle to do your crypto taxes. It's gotten a lot better, but it
yeah,
used to be a hassle for sure.
yeah. It
Yeah.
was crazy.
I see the option when I do my taxes through
Mhm.
TurboTax. They ask about, Bitcoin, all of those things. Like, did you invest? Do you have it? So I want to say maybe it's a lot easier because I do my own taxes, right? So
Definitely.
I have a understanding. I don't invest anything I can't understand or relate to the government because I don't want them after me.
It's always a good idea to pay your taxes for sure.
So what else? What else could you give us the people more insight on about cryptocurrency? Well,
And
you could talk about case usage for each one for what Bitcoin does or Ethereum, something like that.
yeah, absolutely. So a couple of like maybe last things I would leave people here with is one, don't overthink it. It's one of the like the biggest things that I tell people. Like oftentimes when people hear about Bitcoin, they're like, I just don't get it. They're like,
Yeah.
I just don't understand this concept of a cryptocurrency or a digital currency. I certainly hear you. And what I would encourage you to do is don't get caught up in trying to understand like the technical details. They're like, I just don't understand like how does the blockchain work? How does do cryptocurrencies work? And the question I always ask them is, how does the internet work? Right now, like the three of us are in different locations all across the United States. How is it that we're all on the screen, we're talking, it's being recorded, people in the future are gonna be able to watch it? Like from a technical perspective, how does that work? Let me tell you, Renee, Leon, I have no idea. Literally could not tell you. But does it create value for me being here? Absolutely. Do I enjoy it? Absolutely. And so what I encourage people is when you're using any kind of technology, especially when it's as early as Bitcoin, don't get caught up in like the technical details, and instead focus on like the value that it can create here for you. And the value here can be a range of things when it comes down to Bitcoin and these other ones. The value could be from an investment perspective, again, with it being like the highest performing financial asset of our generation. The value could be from like a helping to improve your economic freedom perspective, like with the people that we talked about here earlier. Or that value could just be using it to buy and to sell things here with, like what we talked about as far as being able to buy my wedding ring or to pay for my master's degree, whatever the case. So focus on the value. If you're curious and you just want to know about the technical part, absolutely, it's cool to geek out about that stuff. I really enjoy it here myself, but don't let that stop you from just like getting started here in the industry. So that's the number one thing that I would say to people just leaving this. Like, don't overthink it, and instead invest safely and carefully. But once you feel like you know enough here at a high level, just try it out. And I think that you'll learn here from then. You'll learn much more from just like doing and getting started than you ever will from just like overthinking it.
I'm gonna try it out. I'm gonna try it out this evening.
Nice.
I'm excited.
This
Actually,
is not a financial advice. I'm saying this for Trey. What besides Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana? Give me another two to round off that top five.
Okay. Okay. I will frame it as like, here's what I like to buy here myself, and then you can do with what you like with that information.
okay.
So Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, those are like by far like my top three investments. If I were gonna say like outside of that, I really like this one named WorldCoin. That's one of my favorites. It's a little bit less known, but what they're trying to do is they're all about this concept of like universal basic income. And so what they have done is they have these what they call them like globes all across the world. They're these like little like iTerminals where you can go, you can sign up for a WorldCoin account, and then anyone here with a WorldCoin wallet, I forget the period, if it's every day or every week, whatever the case, they send you some of that cryptocurrency just as part of like their version of universal basic income. So they just see that as a way to go to try to help directly improve people's economic freedom. So that's one project that I really personally like. The other, let's see if I can put people on to one last one I think that you'll find interesting on Coinbase, because I think that'll be easy for people. Honestly, I'll stick with a classic, and you might laugh here about this. Is honestly Dogecoin. Like that's another one.
What is it?
Dogecoin. So within the cryptocurrency industry, there's this concept of like meme coins, and what meme coins are all about is with digital currencies. In this technology, anybody can create money, like a new form of money. Yeah, you can create your own cryptocurrency pretty trivially. Like I've created cryptocurrencies, like just like for fun projects at a bar with friends, just like here sitting on my computer on the couch. It's super easy and honestly trivial to do these days. And so as a result, there are all these what we call in the industry meme coins, which are these cryptocurrencies which are not intended to be like serious money, but instead they're just honestly just fun. And so many of them have like different animals and like dogs and memes here associated with them. And so one of the like OG meme coins is called Dogecoin. So Dogecoin will always have a soft spot here in my heart, not only just from like an investment perspective, but more just because I love the concept that anyone can create their own money. Because I think that when you think deeply here about it, similar to what I said here at the top of our conversation, one of the reasons why money has value is because we as society say that it has value. And so now that here we're in like 2024, anyone can create their own money. Anyone can create value, and it has value. Honestly, if they can just convince other people that it has value, if we believe as a community it has value, then it has value. And I personally love that concept. So that's one of the reasons why Dogecoin, even though it's a little silly, it's got this cute little dog here as its icon or its picture or whatever. I love the concept.
Now you said it had a place in your heart, and I started smiling because are you one of the ones who came up pretty good off Dogecoin when it first started?
I've done all right. I wouldn't say anything crazy. I've seen some of the like absolutely like crazy success stories, but I'm still working. So let me tell you on that end. So I obviously haven't done but too well.
Yeah. All right. Any more questions, Renee?
I don't have. I'm waiting for you to send me the link. I can get that up.
You taking notes?
Nice.
Yes, I wrote down all the names. I'm just ready for you to send me your link, bro.
Right. I'll send it to you.
Yeah. I want to play around with it. And then I'm going to come back and tell Trey.
Please do. And if you have any questions, Renee, or if you run into issues, whether you choose to use Coinbase or not, use Cash App, whatever the case, if you have questions, hit me up. I'm always here to help. So just let me know.
I appreciate it. I'm excited. I'm excited. Make some money. Mm-hmm.
Well, it's been good getting this information, and hopefully more people will get involved in cryptocurrency and just at least take a chance at it, and see what it does for them. And like you said, it's not a get rich thing. Although some people have gotten rich quick off of it, don't go into it to get rich quick.
Invest what you can afford. That's what Trey has stressed that multiple times throughout this conversation. Yeah. So invest what you can afford. And I'm a firm believer in that. Right. Don't overdo it because you heard it here at Impel Forward Podcast.
All right, Trey, it was good having you on, my brother. I'll see you in a couple of weeks, maybe.
No doubt. I need to see you next week, man. It's already starting to look. So I'll hit you up soon. Nice to meet you, man.
Same, Trey. That's why I have this hat on. Same.
Hey, I'm glad that it's dark out, so y'all can't even see.
All right, there you have it for another episode of the Impel Forward Podcast.
Yes.
Until the next time.